Hey, Silent Podcast listeners, it's Sickle Cell Awareness Month, and in today's episode of Silent Podcast, we speak with Dr. Crystal Smith, an organizational psychologist who shares how her sickle cell journey has been transformed by shifting her mindset, getting in tune with her body, and having a tribe of loved ones surrounding her.
I feel like for me, sickle cell it forces you to, at least for me, it forces me to always be at a crossroads. I think able-bodied people can kind of coast a little bit more, versus for me, it feels like I'm either gonna do this and I'm gonna be awesome and I'm gonna shock the hell out of myself and everybody else, or I'm gonna fall into the background and never be heard from again. There is no in between for me. It's always up or down.
Which way do you choose, Crystal?
Oh, I choose up all day.
Welcome to the Silent Podcast, where our focus is to strike out the silenced voices of those affected by sickle cell disease. We believe that by creating a platform to talk about real-life situations through the lens of sickle cell, we can change the stigma one voice at a time. Each episode, we will feature individuals who are changing the narrative of sickle cell. We hope that by sharing these stories, this podcast will inspire not only those living with the disease, but anybody that's listening to boldly persevere, confidently speak their truth, and courageously follow their dreams.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Silent Podcast. I'm Christina Lachelle.
And I'm Ijama Ezene.
And we are excited to share with you about our guest today. Her name was Dr. Crystal Smith. She has a few other last names that she'll tell you about, but it was such a great conversation about sickle cell and love in ways that I didn't expect it to be. But before we get into that, I'm going to pass it to you, Ijama, for our voice of truth.
Awesome. Thanks, Christina. Yeah, this was an amazing conversation. I'm looking forward to everybody listening to it. But our voice of truth today truly came from the conversations that we had with her. Surround yourself only with people who are going to lift you higher. And that's from one of our faves, Oprah Winfrey.
Oprah.
Yes.
Love that. Surround yourself with people who are going to lift you higher. And I think that actually connects to one of my favorite parts of today's conversation. When Dr. Crystal was talking about love and sickle cell, it was beyond just a romantic love. She talked about love of friends, of family, and how she has a support system that really, really lifts her up and is so instrumental not only to her emotional well-being, but her physical well-being, because she sees those as connected. So that was probably one of my favorite parts when she talked about how powerful her support system was.
Yeah. And I really liked how transparent she was during this full podcast. And so it kind of got me a little bit, I got me a little teary-eyed because I was like, oh, I feel you with a lot of the things that she spoke about in terms of how they helped her to be strong in moments of weakness where she was sick and in the hospital, and them letting her know, like, we got you, right? Mm-hmm. And so that truly spoke to me. So I'm looking forward to y'all listening. So let's just go ahead and get right into it.
Before we get into it, on June 19th, we actually released an episode, and we realized as we were releasing, wait a second, we've been doing this for 1 year. So before we get into that, we have to celebrate the fact that we are now 1 year into our podcasting journey. What is your favorite moment from a podcast, or maybe your favorite thing about our podcasting?
I don't have a favorite podcast. I feel like all of them have their own unique element to it. And it's just exactly what we've been talking about. Amplifying voices in the sickle cell community so that we can be able to inspire others. And so just even with us doing this blood drive that we just recently had, the coordinator for the blood drive actually sat and listened to the podcast on her drive back to Dallas. Oh, no, she was going to Austin at that time for another blood drive. And she called excited about listening and, sharing some of the things that she learned and how she was inspired through listening to that podcast. So just hearing people share how it's helped them and how it helped them to learn more about the disease, people that don't have sickle cell, and then those individuals living with sickle cell, how they shared how it's helped to inspire them, which is what we wanted to do. So
yeah. For me, it's the storytelling. Like there's so many different stories that people have to share that, yes, they're connected to sickle cell, but again, like one of the reasons why we put this podcast together is we want anyone who's listening, not just people who have sickle cell, to be able to relate. And the stories have just been so relatable. Yes, they've been about sickle cell, but they've also been about support. They've been about empathy. They've been about finding clarity. So that's been probably one of my favorite parts. And I think to double onto that, it's just been about how much I've learned about sickle cell. You know, this is something that I've known about all my life, but there are so many things that just in this 1 year I've learned. So it's been a great journey. And I just hope that we can continue to bring people into our audience and widen our audience, because we have so many great stories to share. So yeah.
And with that, let's get into the podcast.
Yes, here's the 1 year.
And here's a quick message from our sponsor.
Okay, welcome back to Silent Podcast. We're here with Dr. Crystal Smith, and we are so excited to have a conversation with you. So Dr. Crystal, tell us about yourself.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Crystal J.L. Smith Brown, but I haven't legally added the Brown yet. I am 29. I am from Los Angeles, California, born and raised. I have a doctorate degree in organizational psychology. And I can say, I have sickle cell SC, but I've had a very non-traditional SC journey, probably more similar to someone with SS. So that's been an interesting thing to, move through. I work full time. I'm blessed to work. Actually, I've got 3 jobs, but I work a lot. I'm blessed to be able to work and bring in money and working from home. I am married. I have a little sister with sickle cell as well. She also has SC, and we'll get into that a little bit more later because we have different fathers. And see what else. I don't have any children, just a dog. And I'm excited to be here with you guys today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us on this podcast. And so we're really excited to hear about your story. Just even my connection with you and starting to follow you on Instagram and seeing a little bit of the stuff that you talk about within your life and your journey, with sickle cell, and just seeing how you're living a full life is really what intrigued me to bring you on the podcast. And what pulled me was your little thing with love and sickle cell and that connection. So I'm excited to hear what you have to share with us. But before we start, can you share with us, how would you describe your journey with sickle cell in one word?
I would say that word is fluid.
Fluid. Nice. So we'll get to that as we get through this story. So I know that you shared that both you and your sister have SC, but y'all have different dads. Can you go a little bit into that?
Yeah, so we are 6 years apart. My biological father has the C trait, and to this day, he swears he does not have any sickle cell trait. And I'm like, well, I look just like you. So where do you think the C came from? But that has to do with people not getting, the right tests, and doctors just pulling things out of the air because they don't actually know what they're talking about either. But my older sister also has C trait. Okay. So then my mom meets my stepdad. They have my little sister 6 years later. And I'm thinking I'm going to be the only person with sickle cell because now I've got 2 siblings that won't have it. Right. My sister's born and they're like, 2 months, she's got sickle cell disease. And you can imagine my mother's probably confused and devastated because these 2 men, one is from LA, the other is from New York. And we didn't have that kind of education back in 97 of how common the sickle cell trait was. On top of that, my stepfather is Caribbean. He's from Barbados. So that's an even more concentrated area where, people are more likely to have, more African American genetic diseases. So growing up, on one hand, I was sad that my sister had sickle cell because now she has to go through the same things that I go through. But then I was sort of relieved because now I had somebody that I could relate to. And I could help her navigate. I'm like, okay, we're gonna go swimming, and then we're gonna go get in the jacuzzi because that's what she gotta do as soon as she get out, So that was challenging for my mother for sure, because she's our primary person, our advocate, our warrior, our lawyer, our everything, and having to do that twice, I know it was really hard for her, but she did it.
I feel you, because like I was telling you, me and my twin brother, we both have sickle cell. And so growing up, I always thought we had SS, because that's what my mom said. Even when I asked her, when I was older, and I remember being in the hospital, she was like SS, but it wasn't until literally me at 36, when I had a severe crisis that made me get life flighted to South Africa for care, I found out that I actually have sickle cell beta thalassemia.
Wow.
Yes. And so I still, like how you were saying with your SC, exhibited things in terms of having severe crises growing up that were very similar to having SS trait, having SS, which made me, be like, okay, that's most likely probably what I have as well. So I just wanted you, and then same thing, like I told you, my younger sister, she also has sickle cell. I just know me and my brother both have sickle cell beta thalassemia. I don't know what my sister has, but she does get more severe crises than me and my brother with us growing up. But I know you shared how it doesn't exhibit as SC. So can you share kind of your journey with sickle cell and you knowing that you have SC and how that's affected you growing up?
So I want to start with this. My sister has SC, and she is a traditional SC patient, very few crises. In fact, when she had her child, she did not have crisis at all during the whole pregnancy. And a year after the little person was born, because her fetal hemoglobin had increased during that time. For me, on the other hand, I was the kid that was out of school for a couple days every month. I couldn't go to sleepovers. I couldn't go to the water parks, couldn't go to anybody's pool. It was too scary to let me do a lot of things that other children got to do. Versus my sister, she got to do drill. She got to, do gymnastics. She got to be more physical and use her body. And I feel like because it took very little for me to get sick. Just the slightest bit of a chill. I could be layered up from head to toe in LA, mind you, which maybe gets 40 degrees, maybe 35 at the lowest. And I'm bundled from head to toe.
For me.
You said what?
LA has the best weather ever, but nighttime in LA, I'm like, whew.
It's that beach cold, or if you're east, it's that desert cold, and they're two different types of chills.
Yeah.
I feel like we're so sensitive to the weather, oh, fall's coming. Oh, it's about to be winter. Oh, it's about to be summer. We can feel that before the news even, mentions it. But yeah, so I had a very lonely childhood because I was so sick. I was in the hospital 5-6 times a year. And it even got to the point where my mom started taking me every single month, because at the time, Children's Hospital LA did not believe that I was as sick as I was because I had SC. So therefore, I'm not supposed to have this many crises. I'm not supposed to have this many extreme crises, but I was.
Yeah.
And so once they got tired of my mom, going off, they were like, okay, we need to put her on a more rigorous pain management plan. And they were the best. After that point, they were the best. But yeah, I had a really lonely childhood. I read a lot. I'm a team Harry Potter fan, team Gryffindor. Because that's all I could do was read. I ain't got nobody to talk to. Nobody wants to hear about how sick I am all the time. And especially when you're in elementary school, you're not really on the phone like that at that time. It's, did you show up to the weekend thing? Did you go to the school trip? Did you, those are where those bonds are made. And you can't make those bonds if you're at home and in the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I feel you.
Yeah, so I was wondering, like, what it seems like when you know, and I know you from your Instagram page, right? But it seems like you have found a way to control that. And I don't mean like you can't control how your body reacts, right? But you can control how you react, right? And what your mindset is around that. Was there like a catalyst for you that said, you know what, like I'm going to take control of this, or I'm going to look at it this way? Was there a catalyst? What was that?
Absolutely. It was sophomore year of college, 19 years old, and I was ready to drop out of undergrad. I went to San Diego State. You think LA's weather is beautiful. San Diego is next level beautiful, okay? And the air is cleaner and the streets are cleaner. But anyway, so I'm like, I'm in this paradise, okay? And I'm depressed and I'm sad and I'm heartbroken and I'm, you know, anxious, you know, just all these icky, nasty feelings. And I was also lonely again. So I'm like, damn, here I am. I've done all this work, K through 12, to get to this place in college, and I still feel as crappy as I did in third grade. Mm-hmm. What am I doing? And I had taken a religious studies course. I did grow up Baptist, but and I still believe in Jesus Christ. That's my dude, you know, all day.
Really?
However, the way I was raised in the church, I don't feel like Christianity, the way it was taught, prepared me for day-to-day life. I don't think it really prepared me for what does faith actually look like? What does it feel like? What action steps can you take? And, you know, what affirmations can you tell yourself to help you on your faith journey? I didn't get any of that. Yeah. So what actually helped me get to that place was studying Buddhism and Hinduism, which have a lot of similarities. But, you know, those philosophers of that time and within, you know, that region, it really opened up my mind to how our thoughts impact the body, how stress impacts the body. And today that's like basic information. But in 2011, 2010, it was like purple smoke coming out of my ears. Oh my God. Like, I'm in pain, yes, but I don't have to be upset that I'm in pain. I just got dissed by some dude, but that doesn't mean that has to engulf my entire life. Even at 19, it's real easy to get sucked into the stupid. And I had to really check myself, like, Crystal, if you want to finish this degree, if you want to live a full life, if you want to be the baddie that you see yourself being, you cannot do what other regular 19-year-olds are doing. It's not working out for you. You're going to be back home in LA sleeping on your mama's couch. That's what it was. So I spent that whole summer transitioning into junior year, just really spending time with myself, being outside, really assessing how I allow a lot of my childhood trauma to impact the way that I acted with people today, and just saying, you know what, my friends are crap. They actually don't really have my back. I'm gonna just be by myself. And if I have to call my mom to come down to San Diego, that's what I'm gonna do, because I know she has my back. But being with these people that aren't really helping me along this journey is only making me sicker and sicker and sicker. So I had to just scratch the whole thing, start all over. Who am I now?
You had to blow it up.
Okay, the whole thing. Let it go. And it took a little while after that, but you know, a couple of years later, I did meet a couple of really dope people in San Diego, but it wasn't until I met my husband and then I met my girls, my bridesmaids, my ride or dies. And I felt like everything that I had gone through in those earlier years prepared me for them. Not just my husband, but also for my girls. Yeah. Because that's all of that together is what has gotten me to where I am now.
I love that. And I love how you share just even like us as, you know what I mean? Like how you said, us as Christians, and like how growing up, because a lot of people too, it's just like, you know, pray about it, you know what I mean? Or do this, but it's like, in that you have to also take action, right? And so being able to truly take that action and understand, okay, what do I need to do within myself to be better? And so truly getting a feel and an understanding for that to help you through the process of like growing, because that's the same thing like I'll try to tell my sister in terms of like growth and trying to like feel better. Like sometimes it's like you have to get the mindset right and like truly know like with being in pain and like because you know how stress is one of those things that can cause a crisis, and so you have to like get your thoughts and get those things under control to try to help you so that you can try to like feel better. Because if you're stressing about being sick and like all the other things you have to do that you're not able to do because you're sick, is going to make you feel worse, right?
Right, exactly.
And so being able to truly understand how to get your emotions under control in the middle of a crisis is key. That's very important. And then on top of that, being able to truly, just like how you said with affirmation, speaking those positive things, staying like on top of how you see yourself and how you like work with yourself. And so that's part of like how I told you earlier with us doing this, the Ruby Ball, and where we are coming from with trying to be that light, that voice for those individuals living with sickle cell that's seen as a silent disease that people don't truly understand, to know like you are not alone, that you should not see this as a place of weakness, but a source of your strength, and seeing like how this is helping you to be able to truly grow within yourself, to be able to be a stronger person so that you can be able to help other people. And so seeing people like you living that full life, being able to have that aha moment within yourself to know like, okay, where do I go from here? What do I need to do in order to try to make sure that I'm the best version of me at the end of the day? Because sickle cell doesn't necessarily just affect you physically, but it affects you emotionally as well. And so understanding that and like finding that balance so that you can make sure that you're the healthiest version of you.
I feel like for me, sickle cell it forces you to, at least for me, it forces me to always be at a crossroads. I think able-bodied people can kind of coast a little bit more versus for me, it feels like I'm either gonna do this and I'm gonna be awesome and I'm gonna shock the hell out of myself and everybody else, or I'm gonna fall into the background and never be heard from again. There is no in between for me. It's always up or down.
Which way do you choose, Crystal?
Oh, I choose up all day. I'm not, I felt what it's like to roll out of, just roll down the hill. I know that feeling, and it's a terrible feeling. So I'm like, God did not bring me this far. Bring me into this life with the cord wrapped around my neck 3 times, and then say, now you're gonna live, and then get me through, and I'll be frank, a abusive household, and then get me through being bullied in school, and then get me through college, just for me to say, now I'm gonna just roll down the hill.
Yeah.
Period.
And so like, I know you touched on having to go through that crossroad of knowing who your real friends are and getting to that place where you had to let go of some things in order to truly get to the place that you are now, and how your current husband was very instrumental in that. And then also the current friends that you have that were your bridesmaids. So having that support system. With looking at some of your stuff, I know you focus on some like love and sickle cell. And so can you touch on what you mean when you talk about love and sickle cell, and how your husband, like how that may play a part in your whole journey with that?
So I'm one of those people that loves to dabble in conversations about relationships. And I was that person in undergrad, like, no, men need to be doing this and women need to be doing that. And I thought I thought that I was going to do that, like be a relationship coach or something. I might, I don't know, but not right now. So when I was in a couple of sickle cell Facebook groups, I kept reading about people dealing with like bad relationships, or like, living with family that didn't really support them, or having friends that would leave them at the club while they were sick, like just crazy stuff that people are going through because they don't have friends, family, or a romantic partner that really have their back. And I think in the larger picture, it's a reflection of maybe Black people, maybe people in general, but Black people not knowing how to build healthy relationships in all aspects of relationships. But for people with sickle cell, there are direct consequences for that. And we feel those consequences for, not having boundaries, not having self-control, or not deciding, you know what, I'm gonna just be by myself because these people don't really love me. These people don't really care about me. We have much more to lose than an able-bodied person, our whole life, or our bones, our cognitive function. Like there's always something on the chopping block for us. So I was like, man, I can't keep doing all this commenting on people's posts, and my comments are just getting lost in 10,000 other comments, and 9,000 of those people are saying something that they should not say. So let me just create a whole new space where it can be about positive relationships, friendships, romantic ship, all of the things that help to keep us alive. Mm-hmm. And if nothing else, we can pass with peace, knowing that the people that were there around our bedside had our backs. You know what I mean? So I created Love and Sickle Cell, an Instagram page, which I'm now going to merge with my original Instagram page. But I created it so I could give people examples of when you're sick, this is what your spouse should be doing for you. Yeah. Your spouse should not be causing you stress in these ways. If it's something that you can't come to an agreement on, go see a counselor, a couples therapist, go do it. Because if he or she or they are really down, they're going to get in there and dig through some stuff and make this relationship work so y'all can have peace. Peace is the key to living with sickle cell. And most of our chaos is not what's happening outside. It's what's happening in your house. Mm-hmm. It's what's happening in your group text with your so-called friends. Mm-hmm. That's where the chaos and disruption is happening. And all of that is affecting, I know chakras are not a part of Christianity, but I really do believe it is one of God's many mystical ways of communicating with us, right? All of these different ways of communicating with our bodies, and the way that we are responding to the world, the way that we respond to ourselves, the way that we are, opening ourselves up to God, higher power, spirit, whatever you want to call him, is, it's in our body. And again, when you have sickle cell, you're going to feel it immediately. You're going to feel it immediately. So if nothing else, I'm like, I just want to give people positive examples. And I hope people are listening, and I hope people understand that you are worth being alone in your own peace until you find people that are willing to come be peaceful with you. That does not mean you're not going to have conflict. It just means that it's not going to be chaos.
Yeah.
Conflict and chaos are not the same.
Yeah. I love this. One thing that is striking me is, when we saw your page about love and sickle cell and talked about you talking about love and sickle cell, I thought we were going to just be talking about something romantic, but I really love how you incorporate and emphasize the importance of that full support system, your friends, your family, your romantic partners. Can you tell us a time where your support system really came through for you? And yeah.
Y'all gonna make me cry today. Okay. First, I want to say that my friends have always, as long as my friends have been in my life, they have always come to my house and they'll bring me some ginger juice, some patties, Jamaican patties for the audience, Spanish patties, all the patties. They will bring me sandwiches. I had a friend that brought me a ginger lemon tea when I had really bad pneumonia, and she drove from way out somewhere just to drop off huge canisters of this stuff. So I just want to say, and all these people know who they are. Every single one of them has physically shown up for me. Okay. But one specific time, 2018, I'm in the middle of my doctoral program, and it's stressing me. Can I use profanities? Light profanities. It's stressing me the hell out.
You just want to be real on this podcast. Is about being real, transparent, and open.
It's stressing me the hell out. I'm losing hair. I'm gaining all this weight. And there was not really a framework for, damn, how do you go through a doctoral program with a disease that is triggered by stress, and all we doing is being stressed out. So at some point, and I was working full time at a job that I was no longer happy at. So I go hiking on the Culver City stairs. And for those that are unfamiliar, it's basically like a hike from like, I almost want to say like sea level to 4,000 feet up, which I don't think we're supposed to go above. Yeah. So here I am like, I need to lose weight. Go up these huge stairs, and each stair is about half of my height. Go all the way up to the top, wear myself all the way out, go to the bathroom. And as soon as I go to the bathroom, it's one of those like park bathrooms that's like outside. As soon as I go to the bathroom, the air hits my legs. And that was the worst pain I had ever felt in like 2 seconds in my life. So I go from that to the hospital. Next thing I know, full body crisis, head to toe. The hospital would not give me enough pain meds. They kept giving me 20 milligrams of morphine. It was not working. I'm like, I need Dilaudid. They're giving me 2 milligrams of Dilaudid.
What do I say all the time? Like, because I'm like, morphine does not work for me. And I do that like when I try to advocate for my sister and my brother when they're in the hospital, because a lot of hospitals saying that they don't give Dilaudid anymore. And it's just like morphine does not, like morphine at the normal level does not work for sickle cell patients. So
that's great when you're 10.
When you say you want Dilaudid, that becomes a whole nother thing to where I have hospitals that say we don't give Dilaudid. And it's like, you need to know your patients that are at your hospital for you to choose the type of medication that best works for them. But that's
here's the thing, you're lying, first of all.
Yes, that's a whole
nother
conversation. Yeah.
Okay, you're right. I'll say that for another day.
Conversation, right? But yeah,
We'll come back to that, but go ahead.
So I'm asking for 4. They will not give me 4, but they're giving me so much morphine that it begins to suppress my breathing. Okay. Then, oh, look, you've got a cute chest. Oh, and you've got pneumonia. Winning combination. And it got to the point where I was like, I'm going to die here. I'm 2 weeks in. They're still not talking about releasing me. I can't breathe. I'm still in pain. They had to remove fluid from my lungs through my back, through a needle. And it was like
make me cry.
8-10 ounces of fluid. And they had only taken it out of one lung. And, you know, the risk was the fluid could come back while it's still in the other lung. And I was like, I'm going to die here. So, my cohort from grad school, they put together a gift basket, and someone told them that I was low on potassium. I'm going to assume my husband. So they sent 3 gift baskets, bundles of bananas, essential oils, flowers. I mean, just all of the things to try to make me feel comfortable. Now, I wasn't eating, so it was really hard to get down all those bananas, but it was like, y'all put the time and effort into doing all of that. And then when I got home, because I pretty much told the hospital, like, I don't give a damn what y'all say. I'm going to die at home. I'm not dying here. And I got home and my friends were like, you're not going anywhere. We're here and we're going to come see you. And nobody ever made me feel like this was too much, or, you know, like they'd rather just look away. Like they were coming to the hospital, spending the night with me, making sure I wasn't alone. If CJ, my husband, couldn't come, they were there, you know. And my mother had surgery, so she could not physically be there at that time. And they all just filled in the space. They just filled in all the spaces. I mean, I'm super happy for people that have, like, you know, one warrior parent or one warrior friend, but you really need more than one. This is a tough life to live, you know? So yeah, those are my girls. Those are my people. Yeah. And I know that I was supposed to go through the pain and trauma that I went through so I could get to them and appreciate them and love them and receive love from them as well.
Yeah, because that's a hard thing. Just even how you shared that with having them come to you and they're like, Crystal, you're not going anywhere, you know? Um,
Yeah.
that's a big thing for people with sickle cell. Like going back how I said, it's like, it's not just about how it affects you physically, but it also, you know what I mean? Like affects you emotionally and you know what I mean? Like in other ways. And so I know one big thing with people that have sickle cell is you don't want people to see you in a place of weakness, right? So it's like, you don't want people to feel as though you're less than or that they have to do things to accommodate you or whatever because of your illness. And so it's like you try to compensate for that, you know what I mean, to show your strength and be like, okay, I'm good, I'm fine, but you may be in so much pain, but you don't want it to come off that way. And so being able to have that support system there to be like, I see, yeah, I mean, like I see your need. Like I know you're saying you're good. I know that you're fine, but no, we're here for you, right? You need that. You need those people to advocate for you when you can't really truly advocate for yourself, because you're, you know, I mean, you're hurting so much. And so it's good for you to be able to share that story and share that because I know there's a lot of people that are living within the sickle cell community that truly understand like where you're coming from. Like sometimes it's hard, like how you said, you may have that one person, but when you have a network, when you have a community that truly sees, because like I know you talked about like the whole club thing. Like I remember being with some friends, and they're good friends of mine. They're, you know, I mean, been there in the past, but people don't understand sickle cell. And so I remember us going to the club or whatever and coming back, and like it was supposed to be my turn to drive, but literally my body went into shock. So it's like I was having like a mini crisis and I couldn't drive. And they were like, you just don't want to drive. And I'm like, no, literally, like my body is in pain right now. Right. And so people don't really understand because it's like one moment you're fine. And then it's like, what happened? Right.
Yeah.
And so when you have close friends that are close enough to where you can share your story and like they understand like what you're going through, they know like, okay, usually we know how Crystal is, right? We know who she is. So if she's in pain, she's in pain, or she's dealing with this, and like we're gonna show up, like whatever it is that you need, we got you. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't want us to come to the hospital, I don't care, I'm coming because I know you need me, right? Yeah. And so it's good to have those people in your corner. So yeah, thanks for sharing that story because I know it probably was kind of hard for you, but it's good to like share these types of things with others so that they know that they're not alone.
Yeah.
So,
I thought that was a beautiful thing that you said about receiving love. It was really small, but I heard it because I think a lot of times, I'll speak for myself, just like I know that I am a giver and I can give, right? But it feels almost uncomfortable sometimes when people want to give that same thing back to me. And it makes it hard to be able to receive that. So one of the things that I was just thinking about with your system is like, your support system is like, what a beautiful group of people that make you feel safe enough to be able to receive the love that they're giving to you as well. So.
Yep. Yep. I have a solid 6 that I feel like I could cry, like the ugly cry with. And sometimes when you're in pain, you're not just crying because you're in pain, you're crying because it's like, I can't believe I'm in this much pain. It's like two sorts of pain happening at the same time. I don't know if there's like a proper word to describe it, but it's a dual grieving. It's like I'm grieving because of the physical pain and I'm grieving because of what I have to go through. And I never know when it's going to happen and I never know when it's going to end. And I don't know what opportunities I'm missing in the interim. And you need to be able to cry about it all. You know, because sometimes you really do miss things that you cannot go back and redo. It's not like being in school where you can get an incomplete and turn in your assignments late. Like life doesn't work like that, unfortunately. Yeah. Bills don't work like that, unfortunately. Your credit score don't work like that, you know? So there is a lot of frustration that I think we can hold in and that negatively impacts us in the long run. Because you're holding in that tension, and that's going to impact the body. So I need to be able to cry. I have to, and I need to feel safe around the people I'm crying with.
Yeah. So I'm curious, as to how your husband has supported you through sickle cell. But before even that, like how did you have those conversations with him as you know, you all were dating, and how did he take that, and how did you know that he was going to be someone that supported you? Because as you mentioned, and as I've seen, and you know, we've all seen, like, you need somebody who's going to really support you if you have sickle cell and you're going to be in a romantic relationship with them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So can I actually just start off with how we met? Because I think that'll give a little bit more context. So San Diego State, are you guys familiar with the Divine Nine fraternities and sororities? The Sigmas pretty much ran my campus. Sigmas ran my campus at SDSU. So my husband is a Sigma. So what had happened was I ran for Miss Phi Beta Sigma at San Diego State, and I won. But everybody at San Diego State knew that I had sickle, at least all the Black people. They all knew that I had sickle cell because I always talked about it in every Africana Studies meeting, every student African American sisterhood meeting. I'm like, we need to talk about sickle cell. Y'all need to get tested. We need to talk about this, okay? So everybody knew. So when I ran, the platform was human trafficking, but I was like, I'm also going to run on my own platform of sickle cell awareness. So fast forward, I win the local pageant, and then I move on to the regional pageant where he was the, the director, the coordinator, something. He was in charge of making sure we ate and got to practice and, you know, did all the things, right? So he already knew that I had sickle cell. I don't think he knew much about it, but he already knew. And what I later found out was that he had already called to ask questions about all the girls and see which one was single and, you know, boy stuff, right? So I win the Miss Phi Beta Sigma regional pageant, and that one did not have a larger platform, or did it? I don't know, maybe it did, but I still ended up talking about sickle cell in conjunction to whatever they were doing. So after I won, we had already been flirting and talking and everything, and I had already scoped him out because his ex-girlfriend was a competitor, and we had became cool. So I'm asking for all the details. What happened? What's his problem? What's wrong with him? And she's like, he's a great guy. We just didn't work. So I'm like, so do I have your blessing to go shoot my shot? Because he's here and I like him and I don't go to school with him. You do. So can I, you know? And she was like, cool, go for it. And went and told him that I was interested. And that's pretty much how that happened. So then we move on to the international pageant, and I had a poem that I wrote. They didn't have a platform. So I ran on the platform of sickle cell awareness, and I had a poem that I wrote, and he made me practice. He would call me at 6-7 times a day, like I'm online, like I'm pledging to mom, and start the poem at a random spot and tell me to start and keep going to make sure that I can remember it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So he was on my tail leading up to that to make sure I was ready. And that showed me that this is a supportive man. He really wants to see me win.
Yeah.
I realized that was also a part of his, you know, his game, low key. Yeah. Like it's not a bad thing, but that was definitely a part of his, you know, him trying to win me over. But it's in his character to be supportive. His entire fraternity is like, they love him. He's that guy because he's always there for people. He's always showing up for people. He's a naturally kind, giving person. So when it came down to me having sickle cell, he told me he had like 2 cousins with it, which was scary because I'm like, oh no, we gotta, you know, get tested. But he was just like, okay, teach me. What's up? What I gotta do? And so now he's, Crystal, your eyes are yellow. How much water have you drank today? No, you're stressed out. You need to go lay down. Go sit down somewhere. So yeah, he takes care of me.
That's good. And that's what you need is, like you said, like you want somebody that's going to be able to be there for you and be able to, like, when you don't even see yourself, because it's like you'll stress yourself to the ground, like how you just said, like, I need to like combine these, you know what I mean, like 2 platforms because I have a lot going on. You know what I mean? You have 3 jobs. So trust me, I totally get it in terms of like having all of these things on your plate. And it's good to have somebody in your corner that's like, Dr. Crystal, like, let's sit down. You know what I mean? Like, let's take care of ourselves right now. Let's take a break, right? I got you. And so that's good. And so I know, like, we're coming towards the end of our podcast and the session. So this has been an amazing conversation. I've loved hearing your journey and everything that you've dealt with and you've gone through. I know that you shared your word in the beginning as fluid. So what made you choose the word fluid for your word? And so how do you feel that was kind of expressed through some of the things we shared today?
I think that you have to be fluid with a disease like this, because things change at the drop of a dime, and you have to be able to adjust and move and be like water. Okay, well, you know what? I can't do this in this way, but I can still accomplish it in this way, and just be open to, you know, kind of being like a river. Just kind of, sometimes you have to take different streams, and you can still get to the same place, but it's not going to be the same road or the same mainstream that everybody else took.
I love that.
It's a great metaphor.
Way to close out. But again, Crystal, thank you so much for sharing. We look forward to staying connected with you. If people want to reach out to you, what would be the best platform for them to connect with you?
The best platform is on Instagram, and my Instagram tag is at Dr. KJ. That's DrKayJai.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Do you have anything, Christina?
No, this is great, and really appreciate you chatting with us. Where are you located, Dr. Crystal?
I'm in Los Angeles.
Right,
I live in Westchester, but I'm from Baldwin Hills.
Okay, so maybe if we move the Ruby Ball to LA, we can come out and have you support us there.
Absolutely.